husband and I have been married for over 20 years. And I came to just a point in my life where my mother became very ill. She had cancer. And I was going to take some time off to take care of her FMLA. And my husband became extremely angry with me when I had told him that I was going to take the time off to take care of my mother. And I really believe that he just wasn't thinking right. He had a pretty severe alcohol problem and some anger issues. And so he just, became very angry with me. And I woke up the next morning and I was driving on my way to work, and I just knew that was just the breaking point with me, that I was no longer going to be married to a man who was an alcoholic and wouldn't support me in the time that I needed to take care of my mother, who was dying of cancer. Pulled over, it was pouring down rain, pulled over in Memorial Park and heard Terri's advertisement on NPR for a guide to good divorce. And that just sounded like a perfect fit for me in my life. I didn't want to go through a divorce that was filled with just, hatred. And I loved my husband, but I just could no longer be married to him. And I knew I needed to make some big changes in my life. And that's what led me to attend his seminar. I learned about the whole process in Texas law, how divorce works from the very beginning to the very end. And going through that and having the knowledge of that really took the fear out of the whole process for me. I knew what I was getting into, and I also knew everything that I needed to do to prepare for that. I hadn't really, unfortunately, paid a lot of attention to the home's finances, things like that. So I started, doing my research, going into my husband's computer, pulling up tax returns, putting together the financial documents that I knew I was going to need. At the end of the seminar, you're sitting with a group of women that are they're in a very dark place, it's a very scary place, but to sit and have that kind of community and that kind of a spiritual connection with all of the women in the room, I found it to be very affirming. And I felt like I was I felt that I was in a really good place, in a really beautiful place. And when I walked out of there, I felt very good about myself, and I knew that I'd made the right decision. And I also knew that I was no longer as fearful as I had been. Once you take the fear out of that, you can make a lot of really big changes in your life that I know I needed to do. At the very end of Terri's seminar, he concludes it with a very beautiful spiritual, it's a prayer and a meditation that I found to be extremely life-affirming. It's a very, very, very scary place to be. And it was a nice conclusion to that, having that spiritual support, that spiritual aspect to it, especially with a large group of women who are all going through the same thing that you're going through. It's very supportive. And I found it to be it was very beautiful, very beautiful. Going through the whole process of going through a divorce, I spent a considerable amount of time here in Memorial Park. I would come here and jog. I would kind of do the 3-mile loop, and I would walk, I would stop, I would cry, I would laugh, just going through the whole set of emotions. But I think that physical exercise is an incredible tool that will really help you as you're going through a very difficult time in your life. So take time for yourself, be good to yourself, be gentle to yourself.